Hi everyone, my name is Ruxandra, and I am so excited to be talking to Tumulario today, a band who's going to be answering some questions to us all the way from Colombia. So why don't we start by introducing yourself?
All right, yeah. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for allowing this space for us to share a little bit of our metal. My name is Hane Robles. I go by the pseudonym Morgûl. I'm the drummer and vocalist of Tumulario. As you said, we are a band that was created in 2014 here in Bogota, Colombia, South America, proudly from this, let's say, very difficult lands. But yeah, like we've been working since then thoroughly, strictly, doing something that we call raw metal. And well, I guess that answers the introduction for sure.
Actually, my first question was about to touch base on that. You're describing your style as raw metal, metal crudo. So could you elaborate a bit on that?
Sure, yeah, it's been such a great conceptual work. I think it started back when we realized that our compositions were not suitable to be labeled just as one subgenre. So we said like, okay, yeah, what we're composing, it has a little bit of black metal, a little bit of thrash metal, some parts that might bring maybe some doom sounds, some death sounds. So we say, fuck off, right? I mean, the way that it started at the beginning, it was just metal. Like they didn't have these labels like to how to call the music, to how
Yeah.
to define it, and in the same way, a way to limit it, you know? So we said like, no, we just wanna have metal in our name and that's it. And then we decided like, okay, yeah, but maybe we define, I mean, we need like a word to define a little bit the sound, and we realized that the word raw or crudo, as you say in our language, was excellent, was suitable because it has a lot inside. I mean, we have resignified it, and what it means for us is basically an organic sound, no limitation on its concept. Maybe we will define it also a little bit of primitive, and I think that maybe what defines it the most is that it's not something we want to have like into the technical part of music, nothing like that. We just want to have our feeling, our emotions
Emotions.
on it. And yeah, that I think that when we came out with that concept of raw, we said, yeah, this is perfect. And it's been more than a name since then. I mean, every year it like it takes more meaning on its back, and we are glad that we did that decision because that has allowed us to share with different scenes and different some genres and have some kind of respect like in here in the underground scene of Colombia.
You know what's interesting? That even though you have influences from so many subgenres like doom, death, black, you name it, you still maintain a very cohesive sound. How do you manage to keep it all together? You know, to still have a band identity, even though you have so many various influences.
Well, I think there's so many things that take part in that. One of them, I guess, is to being able to kind of build a music that has a stable lineup. So with this lineup that we're working right now, we've been together maybe for wow, 8 years almost. So we know each other a lot. A part of that, I think it is very important to build from foundations. So what we normally do is that when we compose, it's quite a process because it starts in a very individual, let's say, individual process. Sorry for the repetition on that, but yeah, it's like a very individual process that we develop each one in the musical part and the lyrical part as much as we can as the unique composer. Like, let's say I create a song, I try to develop it as much as I can. And then this is the important part. It's like when we feel that it's ready on our part as a creator, then we take the time to share with each other and to socialize like in a very deep way what the music is about, what the lyrics are about, what's the full background and the ideology on it. And what that makes is that it creates a sense of belonging. I would say,
Yeah.
a very deep sense of belonging. And once that is that's done, it's very easy just to play the music and not just play it, but also like feel it, make a full interpretation of what is behind that. And I think when that all that is put together, what we get is that cohesive sound that you're mentioning. So then it's all about the concept behind. Uh, but we are also very careful, especially when we try to work on our discs or our production, to be able to communicate exactly what we want in terms of sound. Like because nowadays there's it's very common to see a lot of standardization processes inside the music and the recording and well, especially mixing and mastering, and we have tried to fight very hard against that. So by using several, let's say, resources, like for example not using a metronome, I'm against that. Because
Really?
yeah, because I think I mean it's something that maybe subtract a lot of the interpretation that you have on music, especially as a drummer. I know it because, well, I can play.
You are the metronome in your band.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And when you have this click behind your ears all the time, like you're more thinking about that and not just about feeling. So it's natural that maybe you accelerate a little bit when you're excited, and that's what makes it alive, you know? So that's one of the resources. The other one is to try not to compress everything as much and have it, let's say, like as natural as it gets. Obviously, yeah, I'm not saying like okay everything is like a live session or something like that, because no, I think that you gotta place some work on the production. But yeah, when you're careful with those details, you get that cohesive sound, and it persists through the years.
All right. Now, your latest release in 2025 was Vestigios, which followed Vociferaciones.
Yeah.
So, what messages are you exploring in these releases?
Okay. Yeah, it's there's a lot of concept on them. I might start with a little bit with Vestigios because
Mhm.
that would suit like a maybe like we work at like a base for us to understand where we're going. Vestigios, sorry, Vociferaciones, was a red album. That's what we call a red album because it's full of emotion. The principal idea of this album was to use every single song to express one emotion from inside to outside. It was everything about screaming out what we felt. So you will see that it's an album which, in terms of production, I mean, yeah, from the equalization itself is very raw, not just the concept, but the sound itself. It's like you feel it like comes from caves.
Mhm.
um, and a part of that, it's full of anger, it's full of wrath from maybe it has a lot of resentment, disgust, a lot of those emotions that things around us cause in ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we decided to do that, and then the idea where we're going is that we want to do a blue album. So with that, I mean something that is more introspective. Um, Vestigios was not supposed to be that blue album, to be honest. I mean, the idea of it was to have like a connection, like a bridge between Vociferaciones and the next album, which is supposed to be the blue one. So it
Okay.
was supposed to be an EP, an extended
Mhm.
play, Vestigios. However, when we got to contact Satanath Records in Georgia, um, first we realized that normally our albums are very long, and in the same way, this EP was very long for an EP because it's 31 minutes, and for commercial, also like purposes in terms of the label. um Alexei, the owner of the label of Saturn Records, he told us like, okay, no, we better release it as a full length because anyways it's long enough to be considered that. At the beginning we were like reluctant, and then we say, okay, yeah, we agree. So then that's why this is an album, not an EP anymore. But for us, conceptually speaking, we consider it like a connection album. And basically, it's Vestigios. What it does is that it takes some compositions that had been pending for many years. Some of them are very old, like 2016. There's other ones from 2017. So they had some years on their own. And what we did is that we recovered them, and we say like, yeah, we want to put them all together, not with, let's say, with the purpose to create a big concept on it. No, just more like a compilation of those songs that were left behind somehow, but that we love because we do. Every song is like a son.
Baby.
Every song is like a son or like a daughter for us
Yeah.
as creators. So yeah, we record them, we put them together, and the resulting um, product or the resulting music was amazing. We are very glad with this Vestigios. We consider it's an album that has a lot of two different things. Which one is the first one would be I see or I perceive a lot of first wave of black metal on it, and I also perceive a lot of doom intentions on some passages. So that's kind of new. I mean, at least it's more notorious than in previous productions. And the result in terms of the sound itself was amazing. I mean, we consider it's a remarkable thing, and now we have accepted it's an album. So yeah, we're just waiting to see how this one spreads, and then continue with the original plan, which is our blue album, which is gonna come after. But that one is gonna be a lot of introspection. It will be very different.
Very curious. Now, let's talk a bit about the symbolism of your band's name. To what extent does Tolkien's philosophy um, affect you?
It has definitely um, influenced a lot, not just in a very direct way, as you could see, maybe in some songs. Of course, there is because we have some songs. For example, there's one called "The Horde," which is about a group of orcs, and obviously there's more symbolism. It's not just the story, but yeah, that's one. There's another one called "El Mal Reptante," which is about the story of Glaurung, the great dragon of the Silmarillion. Um, there will be more. I mean, they're just two examples. Those are very direct in terms of the lyrics influence because it's for different reasons. One of them is that in a personal way, I consider this guy a master. I mean, he was really a professor. We casually have the same profession. Obviously, there's big differences because he was like a real philologist. I am an English philologist in Latin America, which is obviously a different um, focus. Um, but it works, you know. There's a lot of influence on that part. But a part of that, not just from the explicit lyrics, but also from some concepts that he has or that he developed, sorry, when he was alive, from a more academical point of view. For example, there's something that he calls the sub creation, and this is what I consider we have done with the band, which is creating something maybe, yeah, give some kind of resignification to a lot of concepts that have different conceptions. Sorry about it then. But like for example, la crudeza, lo crudo, yeah. People always think about that like it's just lofi, you know. That's it. Like it's a sound that is not so I don't know.
Polished.
Yeah, exactly. Not so polished. But I think that, as I said before, like it goes beyond, it goes beyond that. And when you resignify those things, um, it gets bigger, it gets richer.
Yeah.
And that's something that he taught us. Also, there's some concepts. It's kind of ironic because in some ways he was a very religious man, But I think he was very right in some of the things, like the conception of fantasy, the conception of the cycle of the world, this concept that he has about the secret fire, as he called it. I think it's amazing, and it works for even from the black magic point of view.
Yeah,
For
yeah, the black
yeah,
flame.
exactly, the black flame burning inside. So I think, yeah, it's not from the same point of view, because of course we don't follow any kind of religious dogma, nothing at all. I mean, we're against that. But there's a lot of symbolism that you can take as your own. And this guy, I mean, he was brilliant. That's it. Yeah.
In your music and your lyrics, you explore a lot of themes like individualism, duality, existence, obviously. Is anything else other than Tolkien's work that inspire you on that?
Yeah, maybe I guess Tolkien's work is present. It's somehow transversal into it, but it's not a main pillar, if you may. I think as pillars, maybe yeah, it would be more present the philosophical point of view from individualism. I think that really defines the band, uh, because as you maybe notice, even from the composition process, it's everything about whatever you can do alone and then share it with the others, so that way they can feel it as their own.
Yeah.
But in the conception part, it starts from the individual itself. I think that then this duality that you talked about is reflected in especially in the things. One is, well, as I said, like the red and the blue part, yeah, which is basically the external and the internal part of the being itself. So that is very reflected, because as way as I mean, as well as we have those songs screaming out things that we really need to say, because if we don't expose them, we're gonna be poisoned. There's, on the other hand, some songs that are more like about your mental processes, what you conclude for yourself, not for the others. And it's very opposite when you realize. So I think that's the clear duality, and those are the, let's say, the two biggest pillars: individuality and dualism. Maybe also, of course, tributing metal, because I mean, we consider, in the same way that consider our songs as sons, we consider metal as our father. We have a very paternal view about this music, because, to be honest, what it did with us is that it took us as their sons. So we are very grateful with this music, and therefore something we try to do every time we can is tributing, making some kind of anthems for metal itself, for everything that it gives us, without asking anything in exchange. So it's the least we can do for that.
How did the Colombian metal scene influence Tumulario?
Oh, bigly, yeah. I mean, hugely. I'm really a great or big fan of Colombian metal scene. Um, I actually am a collector too, and I think maybe 70% of my collection is Colombian metal. Um, I even during some years, maybe what was it, like 6 years or 7 years, I had a podcast, like a media somehow, and we were in charge of promoting Colombian metal. It has influenced a lot, because I think that it's, first of all, of course, it's very close, so you feel like a deeper connection. Uh, a part of that I really like and admire, to be able to share with people that they're like just like us,
Yeah.
normal people trying to live from other works, from other things. But anyways, they bring all they have, and they give all this energy to metal, and I admire that, because it's not a secret that in Latin America it's very hard to be a metalhead. It's been historically. So that fight makes it special because we all struggle, but we are make it. We all make it. We all accomplish to express ourselves. That's why I really admire metal from here. And a part of that, of course, I think there's so many great bands. Like maybe my favorite bands are from this country. Not underestimating the international scene at all, because obviously, what comes first. First, we have a grandfather. uh, so yeah, I'm not saying it's bad, nothing at all, but I think here in the underground scene in Latin America, there's so many things that are hidden that deserve to be discovered. So we just need to dig into the underground. And I'm fine
Sounds
to
a lot
do.
like Romania.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Because I guess when we talk about Europe, everyone thinks about eastern part of Europe, but they ignore a lot of what is behind that. So I think yeah, that's similar for sure.
How does the social and cultural context in Colombia and Bogota influence your music? And how does it reflect actually in your creation and everything that you do?
I think one thing that is very present is, you know, Colombia and most of Latin America are a, basically like a very Catholic tradition society. Yeah, Catholic traditional society. And for that reason, religion is everywhere. There's always a stigma on you, like, just for the way that you look or for having a leather jacket, or black clothes, whatever. So you're considered
Use
an outcast. Yeah, but that's all right. I mean, I think we gotta feel it like proudly, we gotta. That's what we are, and this way of resisting against that has always kind of defined the Colombian metal scene. Obviously, I'm not saying that maybe I suffered from that in the same way that some bands from the 90s did, because of course it was different. At that moment, this society was a narco society. There was a lot of crime. Basically, just by the way that you looked, could you could have been killed. There were actually many people who were, like, let's say, recognized in the national scene who were killed just because of that, by terrorist attacks, violence, etc. That happened in the 90s. Uh, of course, we have evolved in those sense. It's not the same. It's not as violent as it was before, but it continues being hostile in different ways. So yeah, there's always like this purpose of resisting, of showing them like, okay, yeah, we are here, we proudly are what we are, and fuck them with all those concepts and all those let's say dogmas,
dogmas, yeah.
all those traditions. Yeah, like it's always present, but from my personal point of view, I try not to give so much importance to it, because at the end I want to focus my energy on something more tangible, which, for example, is the the artwork itself,
Yeah.
the music itself. And yeah, when you give away your energy into other things that are not worth, so you're lacking that
You're just
energy.
wasting it.
Exactly. So we better don't even think too much about it. But yeah, it's a historical fact.
How do you approach your live performances?
All right. Well, the band itself is formed by three people. Um, it's maybe a little bit different because it's not so common to see a band with a drummer, which is vocalist, lead vocalist. So maybe that makes a little bit of a difference because people are like, okay, yeah, this is different, right? So, but a part of that, we try to approach it from a very from a very imponent way of taking the stage. I consider it, right. We use three different vocals. I mean, as although I'm the lead vocalist, my two partners, the bassist, she's a woman, excellent, musician. She has an excellent voice too. And my partner from the guitar, Tarminastir. By the way, her name is Aurael, and his name is Tarminastir. He also has an excellent voice. And what we try to do is that we use the three vocals together, try to create different contrasts. From maybe a scene point of view, what we do is we do use well, war paints, not so much coarse paints because we don't use white color, just black color. Of course, it has a symbolism. We do it for many different things. One of them is for the tradition of the South American pioneers, like sarcophago, for example. This Brazilian scene. Also, from I think there's a conceptual, let's say, like how can we say this? We feel kind of close to the concept of bands like Beherit or Root, that were also pioneers in this first wave of black metal. And well, they used to have this kind of course pain too. So we adopted from it, but it has become more symbolic. I think that it's a matter of setting ourselves into
Character.
those entities that we become when we are on stage, because it's not Hanner anymore, it's Morgûl. It's not Alejandra anymore, it's Abrael. It's not Javier anymore, it's Star Minister. So it's not just a name, like at least in my point of view, I feel like I am kind of like a messenger from the shadows,
Yeah.
like I'm carrying a message that I don't even understand completely, and I don't have to, right? Because it's a mystery.
You're just a channel.
Exactly, like
Yeah.
a channel. Exactly. And yeah, that's the approach. So a lot of respect for the music, for the art itself, and for the audience that is in front of us. But at the same time, nothing like overthinking. No, it's just feeling, and it turns out to be always like very classical, primitive, raw, maybe obscure. There's a lot of darkness in it, somber. I would even
Mhm.
use a word that I really like a lot, which is a grim atmosphere. Um, yeah, that's basically how I can define this stage part.
What are your plans for 2025? Tours, collaborations, concerts?
Yeah, well, at this point, Colombia has become a very important venue for international tours. I mean, bands which come from outside. They stop here because there's a lot of like there's like a big scene for the international bands. However, that has had a little bit of a problem with the national scene because it's getting difficult. It's getting difficult to
It's
find.
cannibalizing.
Yeah, yeah, like obviously, as I mean, from the audience, people would prefer just to save a little bit more and see their favorite bands from all time than maybe knowing or getting to know local bands. So it's getting difficult. For that reason, we're not playing so often. However, we will be performing in October. At this moment, I'm not. I don't remember well if it's October or August, but Inquisition, which is one of the greatest bands from here. Well, although there's a discussion whether they're Americans or not. So, anyways, we consider them Colombian. That's it. They will come here, they will do a tour, and we are playing in a city called Popayan, which is in the south of the country, in a very big festival called Popayan Metal Fest with an excellent lineup, different bands from all the territory, a lot of quality, a lot of, I mean, it's gonna be great, I'm sure. So we're really looking forward to it. That's at this moment the only one we have like scheduled. Maybe there's some others that we are discussing. We will see if they turn to happen. Um, but in the meantime, that's the only one. And a part of that, in terms of production, what we are doing is Vestigios was already released, but it was released there in Georgia. So we're waiting the transit. Of course, as it comes from overseas, it's gonna take a long time. So we're just anxiously expecting it. And as soon as it arrives, maybe we'll be organizing something to promote it,
Yeah.
to spread it a little bit. Um, it will, I mean, it comes from there in a CD format. But we are also working from our own label, which is called Vestigio Records, in a vinyl version. So it's gonna take that format. We are really proud of that because it's our first vinyl. I mean, as I said, like the other albums, as they
That's
were.
what you have in the background there, right?
This is actually the cover art of Vociferaciones. So the cover art, the other cover arts are there, but I don't think you can see them. Okay,
Okay, yeah, now I can.
smaller. Anyways, yeah, we're proud because it's gonna be the first vinyl. Previous works didn't make it into vinyl because they're very long. So, the extension was more than the format actually has. But this one was possible, and yeah, we're also waiting for it. It comes from Spain, and it's very limited, 100 copies, which we think it's fine. I mean, we don't really go into big
Because
numbers.
not so many people are purchasing this anymore,
Yeah,
anyways.
exactly.
It's an online.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's an appropriate number, and well, that's basically what we're waiting for this year. We'll see what happens. What else happens?
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just maybe would like to say thanks again for this space, for yeah, to the channel itself for spreading our sound, and for all the people who maybe have listened to this interview because it's very important for us. I mean, I think we really have to appreciate and value the underground spaces that still spread this noise, you know. And thank you so much for the questions. Everything was appropriate, and we're really, really, really thankful. Not just me, but the band itself. So amazing.
Gracias a ti.